regular listeners to this program may remember a while ago I had Laurie Anderson on the show. She read a story that she'd written, which kind of, tangentially kind of refers to 9/11. So I thought it would be kind of nice to rebroadcast that today. So first of all, you're going to hear a bit of music from Laurie Anderson's last album, Homeland. It's an instrumental piece called Flow. Then you'll hear her story, Lolabell, and then who knows what's going to happen after that, but it's going to be good, don't you worry.
I live in downtown Manhattan, right next to the West Side Highway, right near a major tunnel into the city. And for the last 3 years, my corner has been a police checkpoint, and there are constant sirens and blockades. And during orange alerts, motorcades of police cars go screaming up the highway as they train for maneuvers. And across the street, hidden at the end of the pier, there's the FBI headquarters. So lately, I've tried to get out of town as much as possible, and so I've been going on these long 10-day walks. Now, last spring, I decided to go to the mountains, and the idea was to take a trip with my dog, Lolabell, and spend some time with her and do a kind of experiment to see if I could learn to talk with her. Now, I'd heard that rat terriers could understand about 500 words, so I wanted to see which ones they were. Now, terriers are working dogs, and they're all about security, and they're bred to protect borders, and so they do these constant perimeter checks, looking for any suspicious holes or breaks in the walls or little irregularities. So Lolabell does her rounds around the studio every day, and she also does a bit of herding, so when new people come into a room, she taps them on the knee with her nose to take a running count. And then she trains her eye on the door, keeping track of the motion in and out of the room. But if someone leaves the room, she can't subtract. Let's see, 10 minus 1 would be... So she has to start counting all over again from the top. So this is like a really time-consuming job. Now I took Lolabell to California, up into the northern mountains to a little isolated cabin near a Zen monastery. And they brought food up from the monastery every few days, but we never actually saw anyone. The bread and the vegetables and the supplies just appeared once in a while out near the gate. And so it was an ideal situation for an experiment like this one. It was February, and the mountains were covered with these tiny wildflowers. And every day was so beautiful. We just got up, went out, and it was so dazzling and peaceful, and such a huge, tall sky, and this very thin, pale blue air, and hawks circling. So every morning we just headed out and started walking, and what happened was, more or less, beauty got in the way of the experiment. It was just so beautiful up there that I just forgot about the whole project, really. It just slipped my mind. And most days we walked down to the ocean, which took several hours, and we almost never saw anyone on the trails. And Lolabell would trot in front of me on the path, checking it out, doing a little advance work, a little surveillance. And for fun sometimes, she would drop back and hide behind a rock. And I would turn around to come running back up the path, calling her name, and she would jump up from behind a rock, just laughing her head off. And then we'd just keep on going, just sort of goofing around and checking out plants and lying down and having snacks of carrots. Now, occasionally, out of the corner of my eye, I'd see some turkey vultures circling in this very lazy way up in the sky. And I didn't think much about it, and then one morning, suddenly, there they were, swooping down right in front of me, and I could smell them before I could see them. This wild and super funky draft of air, like somebody's really, really bad breath. And I turned around, and they were dropping down through the air, lowering themselves straight down vertically like helicopters, with their claws wide open. And they were hovering right on top of Lolabell. And it seemed impossible that they could just hover like that. And then I realized they were hovering because they were in the middle of changing their plan. This little white thing that had looked like a tiny white bunny from 2,000 feet up was turning out to be just a little too big to grab by the neck. And they were hanging there for a moment, weighing it, calculating, figuring it out. And then I saw Lolabell's face, and she had one of these brand new expressions. And first was the realization that she was prey, and that these birds had come to kill her. And second was a whole new thought. It was the realization that they can come from the air. I mean, I never thought of that. A whole 180 more degrees that I'm now responsible for. It's not just the stuff down here, the paths and the roots and the ocean and the dirt and this, but all of this, too. And the rest of the time we were in the mountains, out in the trails. She just kept looking over her shoulder and trotting along with her head in the air. And she had this whole new gait, really awkward. Her nose not to the ground following the smells, but pointing straight up, sniffing, sampling, scanning the thin sky, like there's something wrong with the air. And I thought, where have I seen this look before? And then I realized it was the same look on the faces of my neighbors in New York in the days right after 9/11, when they suddenly realized, first, that they could come from the air, and second, that it would be that way from now on. It would always be that way. And we had passed through a door, and we would never be going